What's the most underrated stadium you've been to? I would love to have you out to Carter Finley Stadium one game this year from Lewisburg, North Carolina. I appreciate the invitation, and we're going to bookmark that because we don't ever know where we're going. I could not tell you right now, outside of a pretty good guess for a few weeks of the year, where we're going to be this fall. We don't even have the Late Kick 2022 tour named yet. The Renaissance Tour last year was great, so I might as well start putting out the call to action now. We need a name for the 2022 tour. And might it come to Carter Finley Stadium? Maybe. We'll see. But like I said, we don't know about the schedule yet, but I can tell you what the most underrated stadium I've been to is, especially for a game day atmosphere. It's Williams-Brice Stadium. It's in South Carolina. It's in Columbia. I think they are a victim of the conference they play in. They're a beneficiary of it, and they are a beneficiary of also, a red-hot, passionate fan base over there, and so they invest and they invest and they invest. But see, when you hear SEC stadiums, of course you think about LSU, you think about Alabama, you think about Georgia, you think about Tennessee, you think about the Swamp, Florida, like Auburn's got a really, really good game day atmosphere, but you know about all those. People talk about them all the time. People don't talk about Williams-Brice Stadium nearly as much as they should. I've been up there for big games. I've been there when they played Georgia. I've been there when they played Alabama. And each time I found myself standing on the field where I'm blessed enough to be able to watch the games from, looking around saying, if this existed in another conference, they would tout it like it's the end-all be-all. Because when they wave those towels, when they play Sandstorm, when it's 3rd down and 3 in Williams-Brice Stadium, you can't hear anything. If you close your eyes and you're in that stadium, and you didn't know what your surroundings were, you would think you're at one of those other big venues. You would think you're at Kyle Field. You would think you're in Bryant-Denny Stadium, because South Carolina fans more than do their part on game day to make that place a really, really intimidating environment. Last time I was there, I think it was 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, Alabama was in there. And I remember I did something I wasn't supposed to do. Whatever, sue me. I was outside the visitors' locker room right before the game. I was outside Bama's locker room. So, statute of limitations, as we like to call it on this show, has passed. So I'll tell you, as Bama's coming out of the locker room and they're walking up the tunnel, I looked to the left, I looked to the right, I took the iJosh, I pressed record, and I just hopped right in with Bama. I still have this footage on my phone. I probably should have given it to Colin. I'll probably post this later. I was just rolling. Let me hold the phone up for the video. I'm just rolling on the phone, and I walk up the tunnel with Bama, take the field with them. Then, of course, I jutted off to the left so as to not be arrested. But I got to, basically feel what the road team feels in a very hostile environment there at Williams-Brice Stadium when they take the field. It's not fun. Wouldn't want my parents, especially my mom, to be exposed to the sorts of things that we, me in Alabama, what we heard when we took the field that afternoon. And look, Bama ended up winning that game fairly comfortably, as I remember, but the place was still just on fire. The time I had been there before that, Georgia was in there, and South Carolina beat them. And I remember being on the field. I've only said what I'm about to say about LSU, but I remember being on the field. It was right at that 3:30 Eastern time kick, so late in those games, one of the hallmarks, one of the staples of the Saturday 3:30 SEC game of the week is you start the game in sunlight, and by the time you wrap it up, it's either twilight or it's nighttime. So the sun goes down during the game. Well, that was one of those 3:30 kickoffs. So South Carolina beats Georgia. It's a close game, so it's wire to wire. And I remember it's nighttime, and that student section's totally and fully lubricated, and they're into the game. And there was a bad call, so some stuff rained down on the field. I know you people think they only do that in Knoxville, but yeah, it has happened elsewhere. It wasn't quite as bad as that night, though. But when they won, they didn't storm the field, but I thought we were going to see a field storming. And I remember thinking to myself, that was one of the first couple of years where I got to go to games saying, South Carolina left an impression on me today. I went home and I said, Dear Diary, Williams-Brice Stadium impressed me today. And it did. So I would encourage you guys who look for a stadium to go to every year that's not your home stadium, and maybe it's not your team going into that road stadium, you just want to experience stuff. Go to a game at South Carolina. Try and make it early in the year so you're sure that everyone will be into it. I'm not saying it doesn't wane. I'm not saying that they're immune to having a bad season, but man, if you get that place when it's fully jacked up, that's about as good as any place in the SEC. And I know a lot of you don't believe me when I say that, but it is.